Somebody, I know we few, but we mighty. Somebody make some noise for DJ Mockingbird. Yes. And welcome to this very special Sankofa Sessions episode of The Cookout. Yes, what is The Cookout? The Cookout is community conversations and engagement along with some good food, and we got a bar, and of course we got the DJ turning up. That's what it is. I am comedian Mu Cuzzo, and I'm going to get things started. I need to be here probably more than anybody else because today we are talking about reparations and wealth building in our community, and I need to be here because I am broke. So I need to learn as much as I can about wealth building. And historically speaking, wealth building is something that we haven't been taught in our community. They don't teach it in school, and we don't talk about it enough at home. So we're living in a day and age of information where, thank God, we can now get access to the information we need so we can become better people, right? That's what's up. Because like I said, I grew up without no money. I grew up poor, broke. Like, I didn't know I was broke, though, because my dad used to lie to us. He used to tell us stuff like, we rich in love. Ain't that a messed up lie to tell a kid? You ever try to pay your rent with love? It's called prostitution. I wouldn't recommend it. It's illegal. Listen now, I didn't know how broke I was until I went to school, and I heard kids talking about stuff I couldn't even afford to know existed. I went to school, this little girl was like, we got a Sega Genesis in my bedroom. Everybody was excited. I was like, what in the world is a bedroom? So you got your own bed and your own room to put it in? That's crazy. But we always had love. And to be honest, I'm glad I grew up as a poor child because it really helped me appreciate this transition into a poor adult. I'm handling poverty very well. But it's all about educating yourself so you can be better for the next. So I want to educate my son so he can have money, because I come from one of them we got McDonald's at home families. Anybody else like that? Y'all come from that? You want McDonald's? We got McDonald's, and there ain't no McDonald's at home, you know? But I got my mama back, though. Y'all got to be good to your kids, because I got my mama back. We was riding the other day, and she asked me to stop at the pharmacy to get her medicine. And I said, stop at the pharmacy? We don't need to stop at the pharmacy. We got medicine at home. And then I took her home and made her a big old glass of ginger ale, because that's medicine for black people, in case y'all didn't know. Ginger ale is you didn't know Canada Dry? That's the over-the-counter. But I'm a good son, so I got her the prescription strength Schweppes. I got her the good stuff. I got her the Schweppes. It didn't do anything for her diabetes, though. But that's why it's all about educating yourself. So y'all keep coming back to these live Sankofa Sessions. We talk about all type of things, not just economic empowerment. That's just what we're talking about today. But we got other episodes on everything from health to heritage and everything in between. But today we are going to be talking about reparations first, and then we're going to reset the panel, and we're going to talk about some wealth building. And right now on the panel, I want to get started by introducing the co-host. It's not just me, Mu Cuzzo. We got actually somebody with some sense that's going to co-host. Don't worry. And his name is Kofi Annan. Hey, Kofi Annan, introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thanks all for coming out. We'll see how much sense I got by the end of this conversation here. We got actual people here who are more experts in all these topics, so I'm just going to be facilitating the conversation. But no, definitely appreciate y'all coming through. Thank you for the support. Thank you for, if you guys donated to all the proceeds for the donations go to the Sankofa Scholars Program, which is a cultural education and exchange program we do here in Petersburg youth. So appreciate all the love, and we're just gonna get started.
So I'm gonna start by introducing the panel. On my far right, we do have an amazing author. If you've never read the book Watch Over Him, Gene, you need to check that out. He is a local historian and researcher, and he goes by the name of Sledgehammer. Y'all give it up for Sledgehammer.
All right, and to his left is Professor Bobby. Professor Bobby is a lifelong Petersburg resident and member of the Petersburg High School class of 1978. He earned degrees from Portland Community College and Virginia State University, including a master's in history focused on Hannibal Hamlin, a writer and historian. He authored American, His Story, an all-black perspective, examining history through the often overlooked Black perspective. His work reflects a strong commitment to education, storytelling, and preserving history for his community.
And what's his name? Did you say his name? What's his name?
Professor Bobby.
Professor Bobby. All right, y'all, Professor Bobby. All right. And Kofi's left. I don't know if y'all looking at Kofi, it's his right. But we got Jeremy Roberts. He is the owner of Exodus Credit Services, author of Amazon's bestseller, F'd Up My Credit, has over 16 years of mortgage experience, and has tons of knowledge to contribute to this panel. Y'all give it up for Jeremy.
All right, and last but not least, we have Reverend Dr. Robert Richard Allen Turner. He is a pastor, author, and social justice activist dedicated to transforming faith and society. A pastor of Empowerment Temple, he combines spiritual leadership and advocacy for marginalized communities. Guided by the prophetic mission of Isaiah 61, a nationally recognized voice in the reparations movement, he also authored Creating a Culture of Repair and has contributed to human rights discussions at the United Nations. He also serves on several boards and commissions focused on equity, youth development, and community empowerment.
All right, and that was long there. We say Reverend Dr. Brother Pastor Sister Mary Clarence. Say his name one more time. It's Pastor Turner. Pastor Turner.
Pastor Turner. We're going to go over there.
All right. So we're going to get this thing started. We're talking about reparations, but before we can really talk about that, let's get into what is reparations. What is that? I'm asking you. I'm asking you, Kofi. What is reparations?
Well, I guess we should leave it up to the panel because I feel like it's one of those things where it depends on. It could take different forms, but I think the idea, the core idea behind it, is that there was slavery, there was Jim Crow, there was redlining, there was all these things that happened that were never actually fixed, or there was no repair done. Even if there was some like apologies, some symbolic stuff, the idea of reparations means that like, okay, there should be some kind of something more tangible value exchanged in order to repair the harm that was done. I mean,
okay. So it's like there's a brokenness that happened because of those things that needs to be repaired.
Right.
Okay. All right. So for the panelists, and we can start wherever you want to start, Kofi. But the first question we want to start with is, what does reparations look like in practical terms? Not theory, but in real policy or action. And we can start all the way on the right, Brother Sledgehammer, if you got any answers to what does it actually look like in practical terms?
Well, it's concrete. Reparations is concrete. It's a philosophical thought, but when transferred into practical application, it becomes money, it becomes education, it becomes all the requirements for redress, being responsible for amending the brokenness that has been perpetrated among the black people for a lot of years by the overall system of government.
Okay, and as far as policy, does anybody on the panel have thoughts on what does that look like when it comes to policy? How we can get to that?
Well, policies have to incorporate a transitional period from the philosophical thought of redress to in bricks and mortar. Practical application is money. Practical application is building institutions that reinforces the concept of redress. So it's a concrete manifestation more than a philosophical thought.
Yeah, I would just like to add also, not to be trite, but I did write a book on this topic, considering creating a culture of repair, which has the longest list of reparatory ideas done by an individual in the world. In this book is over 100 ways of doing reparations. And so time does not permit me to read all the 100 ways to you tonight, but you can get this now, or you can get this on Amazon. But to suffice, and I agree with what the brother mentioned, reparations is really at its root and core word repair, and it is designed to repair harm. To put it simplistically, for all the different types of harm that America and the Western world, for that matter, who created this most recent form of chattel slavery that we have, which is different from other forms. I'm recalling a conversation that was held in the Tennessee General Assembly this past week, where a legislator, and as a pastor I took offense to it, but a legislator tried to say that, well, the Bible speaks about slavery, and they were just people in their time following the cultural norms of that day. The American form of slavery that we had in this nation and practiced by Western nations was never seen before by the world. To literally kidnap people. In the Bible, slavery was done for several different reasons: for conquest of war, for paying off peonage. Actually, folks volunteered themselves if they were going through a drought to be in bondage. But the American form of slavery, where you go to another continent, you kidnap people from where they are, strip them of their full identity, meaning they could not speak their native language. When the Hebrews were kidnapped, when the Hebrews were taken to Babylon, they still spoke Hebrew. When we were taken here, we were forbidden to speak in our African native languages. And on top of that, the Western form of slavery, the most diabolical the world has ever seen, it tied race not to debt nor to your status. It tied slavery to your race, and you were enslaved in perpetuity. In other cultures, you were enslaved until the debt was paid off. America tied slavery to your race and to your lineage. So all your children, whether or not they were indebted to you or not, they were also considered slaves. And on top of that, American form of slavery made the enslaved change their entire religion. No other form of enslavement across the world did what America did. We told them, you can't even worship like you used to anymore. You have to follow our God, and not just follow our God our way. And then on top of that, the American form of slavery, we made it such that anything that identified you with your former heritage was demonized. And so when I talk about reparations in this book, it is a check, but it's so much more than just a check, because so much more was harmed. So it's divided up into 4 different categories. Individual repair, which talks about what individuals can do with who may not want to wait on their government. So what does that mean? It means that if you do your family research, if you being a white person, do your family research and find out that your family own black people in Petersburg, and you want on your own without the government making you do anything, but if you want on your own to give repair of some sort to the descendants of those enslaved, you can do that as an individual. Also, societal reparations. It means that for those organizations that form a society, people who form an organization and a society, and you want to give repair because you found out that your college, Georgetown, that you found out that your college, Yale, that you found out your college, Princeton, enslaved people, my college, University of Alabama, enslaved people doing enslavement, just as today professors get a salary and fringe benefits. Back during enslavement times, 1831, at the University of Alabama, they got a salary and they got a person that they own. Slaves were considered fringe benefits, just like dental and health insurance, and a free company car is considered a fringe benefit today. A whole live person was considered a fringe benefit back in 1831. And so some universities have sought, as a societal form of reparations, not being mandated by the government, they've sought to repair that harm by giving the descendants of those slaves free scholarships. And also institutional form. That to me is the most comprehensive. That's in this book, chapter 3. It talks about what institutions can do, like the government, governmental agencies. And that goes beyond just enslavement. Some people want reparations for just slavery, but our suffering did not stop in 1865. if you know anything about black history, our suffering continued on after 1865 with the black codes, with Jim Crow, with racial terror lynchings. If you go to Montgomery, E.J.I. Brian Stevenson has a beautiful museum, has not beautiful, but it's a sad story, but he's done it in an eloquent way, sharing the story about how America lynched thousands of her own citizens, and really in most cases, as it was in Tulsa, nobody got sent to jail. So our reparations goes farther beyond 1865. And the last form, spiritual, what I talked about earlier, how the church, and not just Christianity, but unfortunately every faith in this world, from Islam to Judaism to Christianity, every faith to Buddhism, Hinduism, every faith in this world at some point has condoned and supported slavery. Be it in India with the caste system, be it in Arab nations with the enslavement of Africans, and of course with Christianity and with Jewish faith. All of them had people who practiced slavery and racism and discrimination, and we need reparations from a spiritual point of view as well, because these folk put it in their theology that black folk were less than human. And so all four types, to have true comprehensive repair, are needed to have reparations.
Thank you for that. And what's the name of the book?
Creating a Culture of Repair. Also was endorsed by my mentor, Reverend Jesse Jackson, Cory Booker, and was nominated for an award, literary award this past year.
Okay. You got a free copy for one of the people that showed up today? I
got one free copy. Everybody else got to pay. Hey. I got one free copy for whoever Kofi chooses. Yeah.
So I got a question, because when I hear policy, I think about laws that are created to help the cause, and I always think like dissertations from colleges usually help support movement with things like that. Have you seen anything as far as college dissertations equating what's going on now directly to slavery? And does your book address how we can help with lobbying for policy?
Yes, in my appendix, I, as a pastor, as a scholar, and as an activist, I go across the country. I think Kofi mentioned in my intro, each month I walk 40 miles for 40 acres. I did it 40 times from Baltimore to the White House, and now I've done it in Alabama. I walked from Selma to Montgomery, which was 54 miles, the same route Dr. King took. He did it over 5 days. I didn't have good sense. I did it in 1 day, and it about killed me. And then I did the walk in North Carolina from Warren County, where they did the PCB protest, to Raleigh, and then just recently I did it here in Virginia, from Prince Edward County. I met at the school, Moden High School in Farmville. I did it on that 75th anniversary of Barbara John School walkout, and walked from Prince Edward County to Richmond, and got stopped by the police almost every 10-20 miles from in those rural areas, those rural counties that I had to walk through. And then when I got to the state capitol, y'all state capitol police kicked me off the capitol grounds just for trying to pray and read the scripture. And so what I ask people to do in every state, and I have a petition here, is to encourage your legislators to pass meaningful legislation for reparations. What does that mean? It means on a local municipal level, for them to have call for an ordinance to have commission. I'm from Baltimore, from Tuskegee, Alabama, but now live in Baltimore. I sit on the Baltimore Reparations Commission, because the city councilors voted and passed an ordinance to establish a commission for reparations. And the state of Maryland now has passed a reparations state commission. Those are two things that everybody in Virginia can do. Wherever you live, Petersburg, if you live in Petersburg or live in Richmond or Farmville, wherever you live, you can encourage locally your city council or county commissioners to pass legislation for reparations commission. And some of you could possibly sit on that commission. Also, you could invite and ask your legislators to pass legislation. And they may say it's impossible. Nothing we ever got has been easy. From emancipation, that was not easy. Folks said emancipation would never happen. Integration was not easy. Barbara Johns proved that. They said that would never happen. And the same thing is said for reparations. It would never happen. And the only way those first two things happened was because black and white people fought side by side together to make sure this movement saw the fruition that it needed. And we must do that again with reparations. So the legislation can be whatever the commission recommends. I got suggestions in my book, over 100 ways of doing it, but the members of the commission know best what the people in the local communities need and what they need to be repaired from. So, and I have things in my appendix about that as well.
Thank you. So just to get Jeremy and Professor Bobby in on this a little bit. So let me ask, so for the people who, one of the arguments against reparations is that it's been too long. You know, it's been 150 years since slavery. What do you say to that argument?
Well, first of all, I have to push back. I totally disagree that we cannot unite. We cannot have Caucasian people being involved in the reparations movement whatsoever. We have to do this on our own. There are many problems with the reparations push. One of the major problems that we have as a people, we don't even really understand what reparations is. There are many things within the United States Constitution that will prevent us from actually pursuing this and being successful, such as we seem to have forgotten that the authors of the Constitution in the majority were slave owners. So why in the world would their children do anything to make sure that there is redress? There will not be any redress whatsoever. So what can we say exactly about America and the reparations issue? Well, I say this. They don't owe us something. They owe us everything. And what do I mean by that? Every cent they have in the bank belongs to us, the descendants of enslaved Africans. No one else can say that. Our ancestors built this country for 246 years of free labor. So with that, I will conclude at this moment. Thank you.
Now, the argument about whether we are old or not is already done. That's a foregone conclusion. But what we have not developed at this time is the mechanism for bringing our grievance to a conclusion to a certain degree, to get forward movement upon that. Japanese, Germans, Jews in Israel, I think to some degree still get a check. They're getting redress. American Indians haven't gotten much redress, got dry deserts where you can't grow anything. And as the brother was saying, these things address generational wealth. And he talked in terms of the public opinion has not been there to be sympathetic to our need for redress. Germans, Jews, they didn't have to get public opinion. They had a lobby, a strong lobby, and it's been going on for years. You can't do it as fingers on a glove separately. You got to combine your efforts over time. Over time, you know, Haiti still pays France reparations for taking what is theirs. If you can get reparations from a poor country like Haiti for about 150 years or more, then why can't we build a lobby to superimpose, you know, when Stokely Carmichael talked in terms of black power, if we would have listened then, we would have had that lobby. We didn't listen. We fainted off when he talked about black power, in which everybody else knew it. Power, not just black power. Germans, Jews, Irish, everybody came and they lobbied together. They got what they want. They ain't had to beg for it. They got redress. They still getting it today. So what we need black power. Black power to get things done for black people.
But can I ask real quick, just interject real quick? So just to piggyback on what you're saying and what Professor Bobby's saying, that like we don't necessarily need to, or we even shouldn't incorporate, you know, Caucasians into the movement, if you will. How do you practically do that in the system that we have right now, which pretty much everything happens through either some kind of a form of political
that's well,
process,
but
right?
The system is fluid.
Okay. So how do you actually get things done without
you can go to Malcolm was going to take him to the United Nations for violations against black folks, human rights. We can raise that argument to a different level. You had to be able to leverage your power upon a certain issue. Can have an effect of creating a consensus among yourselves. And as far as we don't, I mean, it's not practical to deny any help. In 1816, American Colonizational Society, which is a good thing today. Give us our 40 mules and let us go back to Africa. It's a good thing today, but the Recolonizational Society in 1816 advocated sending blacks and freed blacks and slaves back to Africa with the 40 acres and a mule, so to speak. So, so we have ways that, with a consensus, that we can leverage our God-given rights upon our effort. But no, we want any well-meaning person of color, of any kind of color, to help us. We've been asking for that all along, but the powers that be can superimpose their will upon us if we are not strong enough to create opposition and friction and way forward into this desire to get redress, and it's unlimited. But take it to the Hague, United Nations, the moral authority of the Pope. There's a lot of things we can do, but we can't get lazy on the job. And the struggle is long and protracted. It's not a short battle, but you got to be focused. We got to stay focused on what we deserve and have a right to.
All right, I see Professor Bobby trying to get a word in there.
Yes, when it comes to the reparations movement, we must do this alone without anyone's help.
So what does that look like?
What does what look like?
Us doing it alone.
We have a lot of brilliance in our people, a lot. We just got to get the right group together. Because I think everyone out here recall that they had a panel, about 7-8 years ago, and it was a clown show. It was talking about reparations with Danny Glover, an actor. You had Tanisha Coates, some guy, I don't even know what his name was. And Booger McFadder, a columnist, a sportscaster, explained what kind of panel is that for reparations. It was a clown show, like Brother Malcolm said. And with that, I'm gonna stop.
Okay, so I want to know what does, so we don't have the structure to do it without help. So that's why I was asking, what does that look like? Like even with black lobbyists, what does that look like? We need people to lobby for us. Who do we look to even help create a platform for lobbying?
I was going to add that that is not historically how things have ever gotten done. We black people have always had to bear the brunt of the fight, but even there was a majority white Congress in D.C. that passed the 13th Amendment. White people. There was a white president, Lyndon Baines Johnson, who signed not just the Voting Rights Act, but the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. And during enslavement, thank God, there were some Quakers in Pennsylvania where the term Underground Railroad came from. So we, as Dr. King mentioned, must learn how to live together as brothers or perish as fools. Now, we should not have to depend on anybody else to do anything. But the current reality, if we're gonna take Virginia, for instance, if we're gonna get reparations passed in Virginia, who's the governor? Spanberger. Is she black?
Nope.
She's white. So if she's gonna get passed, she has to sign off on it.
She's not just white, she's the police.
Okay, that part too. And so we are citizens in this nation, And we must make sure we take full advantage of all the mechanisms and political institutions in this nation if we want full repair. Now, our plight is harder because we are the most exploited and we are the most oppressed. But that doesn't mean, and just thank you, Lord, in the Bible, when Moses went to get the Israelites, who did he appeal to? Pharaoh. Pharaoh wasn't the Hebrew. So we have to trust in the God that we believe in, that God will soften the hearts even of pharaohs when God says it's time to let his people go.
So that's an interesting, I guess, debate. Because I got a friend who talked about starting the movement, not including white people, and I guess it's different between whether or not you think that we want to use other people or whether or not you think it's not going to work if we use other people. But when I look at like the Black Panthers and how they got taken down from black men who infiltrated and were pretty much, you know what I mean, the enemy. So I can see both sides where it's like, you know, if you're looking at trying to change the system from the inside, it's weird to me because you got to assimilate if you're going to be in that system. If not, you have to destroy that system and create a new one. So that's why I was asking, what does that look like? You know what I mean?
Well, let me elaborate on something the pastor said. We as a people, and I'm talking about African people, don't do a lot of reading. That's why we speak a lot in public and putting information out that's not quite correct. There's a very famous picture of Dr. King, and he's standing over top of President Johnson when he was signing that legislation. I'm sure everyone out here has seen it. The problem with the picture is someone was missing. Who was missing? Adam Clayton Powell. Y'all might want to look him up. Adam Clayton Powell is the one that got that legislation pushed. Dr. King was just a figurehead. He had nothing whatsoever to do with that movement whatsoever or that legislation. That was Senator Adam Clayton Powell. Look that up.
Here again about getting that consensus, I don't think we really, the concept of going it alone has never been very viable. If you got to depend on yourself if that's all you got. But the ability to forge coalitions is a tried and tested method. All responses don't fit the same problems. Sometimes we have to fit the remedy to the problem, the unique problems, and we got a lot of unique ones, but we look for support where we can get it. But as has been said many times, we don't need other people articulating our mission, our desires, and our route for getting where we want to get, because these things, a lot of things are homegrown or during the civil rights era and everything. Those strategies were formed in the bottom of churches and classrooms by black people. White people came in, which were welcome, but we charted our own schedule. We knew our unique, so we're not going to have anybody articulating what it is and where we need to go. But we welcome any peace-loving people who can help us to where we're going, but we need to go. And the church is a great place. That philosophy inside the church is one for guidance and for strength. But we do need to go on and do something creative and concrete, and refuse to contradict, because there's no contradiction where we need to go, but it's the method about getting there and who goes with us. If we going, and like it's been said, you know, you can start out the journey with 1,000, and when you get there, some gonna fall off till they get sick. Some gonna fall off till they get homesick. When they finally get to the battle, you ain't got about 100. So you don't expect everybody, the people that start off with, are gonna be there, but the journey and the march is the same, you know.
Yep. And Jeremy, you got something you want to add?
Yeah. Once I get this feedback out of here, hold on. All right, y'all can hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm not a reparations expert. I'm more of the credit expert, but a lot of times when I'm dealing with someone and I'm getting ready to repair, because we're talking about reparations, repair their credit, one of the first things that I do is that I make sure we get a copy of their credit report, and we go through the credit report and we look for errors and inaccuracies and things that happen within their credit report. So basically where they stand. We need to understand, okay, if we're trying to get to this place, if we're trying to repair something, we first got to identify what's broken. I think us as a people, if you ask each and every one of us, what does reparation look like to you? I think it'll be something different for each and every one of us. So number one, we're not even on the same page when it is to start talking about what it is that we want. We have these ideas and we have these concepts and stuff, but when we go to legislators or we go to people that, can actually move the needle, we can stand up there and say, but we don't even know what we want as a unit. We don't even know what we want as a people. And I think one of the biggest issues is that we don't understand the value that we have. We don't understand how worthy we are when it comes to the better things in life, when it comes to living prosperity and things of that nature. And I see it all the time. I asked the professor over here if reparations look like everybody, all of us, all descendants of Africans, of slaves, were to get an 800 credit score and they clean off our credit, how beneficial would that be? That would be beneficial to a lot of people. But truth be told, that would also be detrimental to a lot of people as well. Why? Because we don't even know how to manage our money. We don't understand that, we put our value in name brands instead of who we are. And that's one of the things that I find so often when I'm looking at somebody's credit, because at the end of the day, they were responsible for charging that credit card and not paying their bill at the end of the day. And so when we look at reparations, we look at repairing, when we look at moving and staying forward, we first got to identify that, acknowledge the fact that we're worthy of it, and then understand, okay, what is that we want, and then take accountability. What are some of the things, how have we contributed to us not moving forward as a people from a financial standpoint? I know I knew a close friend that was tight with Dr. Martin Luther King's wife. And she was talking about his next platform before he got killed. And as a matter of fact, I think he was getting ready to plan the Poor Man campaign, where he was getting ready to do that walk to Washington to get that check. And then he was murdered. And so she was talking about he was going down the economic route, because that's one of the biggest hurdles, one of the biggest shackles that we still wear today as Americans here in Africa, as Black Americans, is the financial sector. So I think, what is it going to take for us to get on the same page of even knowing what we want when it comes to reparation?
There is a certain degree of illiteracy in the Black community, but you talk to those who got a high school diploma, they know what they need. You need education first. Education is probably going to be the first thing, that great equalizer. And as far as what we need, we know what we need. We need the same thing. You can go on a diet requirements. They got ingredients for diet, for raising healthy children, having a healthy community. So it ain't difficult. It's the impediments been put in front of us for all these years. These institutionalized impediments that has arrested our development for all these years.
I'd agree with that, and not just to cut you off, but so we don't get too far away from what he was just saying. Those things that are put there to impede our progress are effective because we are not on the same page with what progress looks like. So because we're not all going to the same place, it's easier to
but we can't go in the same place because we're not educated on the same level. A lot of people here don't know what we're talking about. But so you can't blame them for not knowing if I haven't been educated. So I'm not buying that the people are their worst enemy. If we didn't teach them and they didn't teach them, they ain't taught. So so we ain't gonna take that. No, we don't take that. We've been denied the things that everybody else. The reason why they are prosperous because they had help, and because they had help becoming educated. Education has always been a cornerstone of us in this country That's why your feet was cut off. You were killed for learning how to read and write. So don't come today talking about because we're ignorant, we don't know. Yeah, we know if you let us.
I think it might be a misunderstanding there. I just want to clear it up. He wasn't saying that we're miseducated. He was just saying we're not all on the same page.
He was implying, that's implication.
Yeah,
He was
hold
implying
on.
that
Hold
you
on.
were-
Well, I was implying that, again, when I ask, if I ask everybody what does reparation look like to you,
wouldn't know that.
we're not on the same page. So that's number one, what I'm implying. I'm not implying anybody's uneducated or anything like that. However, there are some things that were hidden from us and we didn't know. The truth of the matter is that there's a lot of information, a lot of knowledge out there, and events like this where people can get educated, but nobody's here, right? If I said Trey Songz from Petersburg was here tonight, would this place be full? It would be full. So it's not that the education isn't there. It's not that the education isn't available. It's just that, do we want the education? And do we want this type of education? We want degrees. I got 2 degrees, but guess what? I got student loans too. Guess what that affects? That affects my credit. Guess what that affects? That affects my ability to buy a house. Guess what that affects? That affects my ability to generate wealth for my kids in the home ownership state of things. Not because I'm not educated, right? So those are things that we've been educated on, things that have not always worked in our favor. Now it's time to get in position to get educated on things to where we can start building generational wealth. And events like this is where stuff like this takes place, but it's not popular enough.
Right. Carter G. Wilson,
just to-
the
can I-
miseducation of the Negro. Carter G. Wilson. Here again, that's a practical theme, and it's concrete in terms when you end up not having what you need when you need it. You've been miseducated not to be in competition. You've been miseducated so you can't be in competition with the Irish, with the Italians that came in after we've been here. Everything has been done so other people can get in front of the head of us, and we are still talking about regress, because just like I said back and forth, Japanese, everybody else got their regress through institutional means. Now we got to get each one to say, yeah, let them have it. So here again, if you're miseducated, if you raise a child and that child is underfed or whatever, whose fault is it? It's yours. Mm-hmm. Y'all raised us in this country, and you had us underdeveloped. You did it, and you got to redress. You need to fix us up. You, not individually, but the country. The one that we swore patriotism to, the one we fought in the walls, the one we died, bled, suffered, and we need to be taken care of. And why do we got to do it? So y'all the one did it. Why we got to? Y'all need to get up and say, you know what, we did them people mighty wrong. We need to do something about it. But now y'all they ain't did it. No, so, and then we end up buying it.
We got to do it. We the ones nobody else gonna do it. But we're gonna pivot a little bit. We're gonna pivot a little bit. Dr. Bobby, he's been waiting for a minute. He wanted to make a point, and I don't want to get too far away.
I'm gonna read something to you, and I want everyone out here to raise your hand if you know what I'm reading to you. And this pertains to what we're talking about right now. And everyone out here is going to know what it is if you pay attention to what I'm reading. General Order Number 3. The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that of employer and hired labor. The freedmen are advised to remain quietly at their present homes and work for wages. They are informed that they will not be allowed to collect at military posts, and they will not be supported in their idleness, either there or elsewhere. Raise your hand if you know what that was I just read.
Is that the Juneteenth?
How many people was it? 3? That's Juneteenth. You know why I read that? Because every year I'm involved with Juneteenth. And the thing that we do as a people, we celebrate the first sentence. It's the first sentence. Let me read the second sentence again, because you need to get to the second. Forget the first sentence. It says, this involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes employer and hired labor. So our ancestors in Texas were freed the first sentence, put back into slavery the second sentence, and told them they're going to pay them wages. I land my plane.
Thanks, Professor Bob. So we're gonna switch out some of our panelists in a minute here, because we're gonna have two other panelists join us in a couple of minutes here. But I wanted to just make this point real quick. 'Cause we got 6 people up on this stage here, and obviously this is a complicated issue because we're not even on the same page, and we're all educated. You know, we all went to college, so. But I don't think that's the point. Like, I don't even think we're at the point of even trying to figure out what it is we want in reparations, right? We asked for a show of hands of people who think we're going to get it. Nobody even, regardless of what we get, nobody even thinks we're going to get it at all. Right, so we're not even at the point where we're trying to figure out what it is we're going to get. We're not even hopeful, fighting. You know, your point you made. Like, people don't really show up for these conversations. So I think we're still at the point where we're trying to figure out: is this something that we want? Is this something that is achievable? Before we even figure out the details of what that might look like. But I think this is a good little point for us to kind of take a little segue. And take a little 2-minute break here. We're gonna get some other panelists up on the stage here. We want to thank all the panelists for right now for participating in this first half, and we're gonna come back in 2 minutes.
And make sure you like and subscribe and share this.
Right. At Sankofa Travels with Kofi. Got at
MU804.
Appreciate y'all.
Yeah.